Thank you, Mandy. For those who don't know me, I'll echo what Mandy said. I'm Spencer Bennett, one of the VPs for our chapter. And I am going to introduce today the wonderful Miss Jackie Raleigh. So Jackie has been a longtime member of the chapter, and I'm going to go ahead and read her biography for everyone. So Jackie is a resident of Seminole County and has been a member of the Tar Flower chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society since 1997. She retired from government service in 2006 and as a fourth generation Floridian, now has time to pursue her passion of conserving and restoring native plants of the Florida she once knew. Ms. Raleigh has served in various positions at the state and local chapter levels of the Florida Native Plant Society. She has also been salvaging plants from construction sites for over 15 years and has learned many techniques and tips for transplanting, propagating, and maintaining Florida's unique native vegetation. Her work over the past several years in restoration at the Oakland Nature Preserve continues to provide knowledge in the native plant communities and the wildlife that depends on those communities. Ms. Raleigh also holds certification as a master naturalist from the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences. Jackie, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you for speaking today.
Welcome. Gee, has it been that long? Okay, so Mac had asked me to do, since I do so much at various different places, I couldn't fit it all in tonight, to just give you an overview. Now, you know, most of my work is out at Oakland Nature Preserve, but I do work other places. I want you to note the photo here. That's Helianthus angustifolia swamp sunflower, just the other side of Lake Jessup off 417. It got drowned, has never come back. I think Tropical Storm Bay or something, too much water in there. Every time I go across 417, I look to see if they're back, but nope. All right, where's Paige? We're gonna have a few technical difficulties tonight. No, all right, so here's a few ways that where I work. Volunteer. This is Mac, pay attention. I did all of the plant, well, they've all got been replaced. This is in front of the admin building downtown Orlando. And it's one of the community gardens that we started working on. And of course, rescue. That's been my main passion along with Oakland Nature Preserve. This is at the last piece of scrub in Orange County. This now houses and school. This is called Karina Parkside. And you'll see later in the presentation where we moved a majority of all of the plants, basically most of the plants, to Bill Frederick's at Turkey Lake Park, which is the only other piece of real scrub, sort of in its pristine shape, is at Bill Frederick's. So, is that Turkey Lake Park? Yeah, Bill Frederick's at Turkey Lake Park. Down by, this was called Karina Parkside, which is southwest part of Orange County. So, okay, let's see. Citizen science projects, Mac helped me with this one. So this is great stuff you can do, look for opportunities, not just from FNPS, but a lot of the other environmental organizations. UF also, you know, I know went out and said, hey, tell us how many bats you see under overpasses and stuff like that. But this was a really cool project with the air potato beetle. And I will, if anybody did get the beetles or knows of it in somebody's backyard, through climate change, the beetle doesn't wake up until June, July from dormancy. and the plant comes up about March, April. So it's not really working that well anymore, because by the time the beetle shows up, the plant has already produced its fruit. Okay. There you are, Peg. I had to grab your picture. Provide education. We do a lot of nature tours. Hal is really good about providing education. Catherine Bowman, all of us, we are the ambassadors for the plants. So this is Peg Lance talking about edible plants. She is the author of Florida's Wild, Incredible Edibles. And in time of war, I'm going to her yard because we can eat right out of her yard. What most of you are doing, thank you very much, is landscaping with native plants. Now this is at Oakland Nature Preserve. Everybody thinks my yard ought to be the greatest. No. I have very little time and energy left to take care of it. So, but do continue to plant the natives. We're seeing more and more popularity with people wanting to transform that St. Augustine grass into native meadows. Serve on chapter and state level boards. And this is important. You learn an awful lot about how government, even if it is just an 501c3, but the governance of our boards, and it's really important. I spent about 13 years, I think, on the state level in 2 different positions. It also teaches you patience because things move very slowly at the government at higher level. But we also need, and thank you all for who volunteered to serve on boards this year here at Tarflower chapter. But it is very educational and looks good on resumes that you have participated and understand how boards work. That's the famous Mark Gods. This was about maybe the year 2000 at Blue Gardens. We had this tiny little patch to sell plants, and now it's a very large area and we need lots of help. You don't need to know too much about the plants. You follow one of us around, read the signs, listen. Most of the time we just need help taking people's money. So, or taking the stuff to their car. There's many, many things to help at plant sales. So, come on out. And I don't have photos for this, but stay informed on local and statewide level. If you're a member and you've signed up for the alerts, they will, you'll get an email telling you, hey, the government is about to pass this ordinance for landscape or fertilizer. Please write to your elected officials, and then write to those elected officials. We need to be heard. Okay, like I mentioned before, my main volunteer is restoration from an orange grove and slash pine farm from about 1999. We started the restoration at Oakland Nature Preserve. It is exit 272 off the Turnpike, Winter Garden, Claremont. It's very small. We have about 180 acres. Most of that is wetland, but about 40 to 50 acres is upland. And the reason this property was purchased by one of our early pioneers in native plants and the Native Plant Society was Jim Thomas. He bought this old slash pine farm, took down 90% of the trees to protect Lake Apopka. When the rain falls or the water comes off the roads and stuff, percolates down and is cleaned before it gets to Lake Apopka. So the real reason for the purchase of that property was to clean the water before going into one of our most polluted lakes. Not toxic, there's too much algae, phosphorus and nitrogen from farming. So nonprofit, and I took over 2010 timeframe. Let me tell you, be very careful when you volunteer. Don't volunteer for too much. Suddenly you're in charge. I see a lot of nodding heads, yes. This is the preserve. One of the things you do before restoration is you check the type of soils. And I know it's an eye chart, but basically we're looking for Candler, number 5. I had a pointer. Oh, maybe I can do this. No, doesn't work. But you can see the major portion to the north is all wetlands. So that's 140 acres, which no, thank you, I am not restoring. Wetlands is a whole different animal. Some of you have seen this photo before when I've done the full-blown restoration, but this was the parking lot about the year 2000. That, if you've ever been there, that tree is still there, but that was the only thing. Of course, we have a big, beautiful pioneer log cabin type building and everything else, and that little thing off to the right is the entrance to the boardwalk, which now doesn't look anything like that. And it had been a slash pine farm for the pulp industry. You know, you're driving down the road about 65 in my case, miles per hour, and you see all those pine trees planted so close together. That's a slash pine farm. It's for our pulp industry, paper. Very little now, but that was a sustained work for Florida. It was really big in paper. My family is in St. Augustine, and when the wind would shift from Jacksonville, such a delightful aroma. But this is what the ground underneath the slash pine farm looks like. It supports nothing in terms of life. There's no flowers, there's no nothing. No, the birds and the squirrels probably liked it, but it's really the desert. So that parking lot today now looks like this. Different times of the year when the muley is blooming. And through purchases and rescues, we are now really good along in restoring the sandhill ecosystem. It is a functioning ecosystem. Hal talked about gopher tortoises. That is a metric we use, especially for grants. When the property was purchased and started restoration, 17 gopher tortoises were brought in as a recipient site. Last time Catherine Bowman did a survey, we had 180 burrows in 40 acres. They don't go into that wetland. So it's a great metric. If you can see them multiplying, you're doing something right. So, but then we have lopsided Indian, Liatris. I do not have a zebra swallowtail. I'm working on it. Trying to get a larval host to survive and thrive there has been a challenge. For pawpaws, before I leave, I have been there. I'm to the point now where I'm just looking for the caterpillar to introduce them. And the scrub blue lupine over there on the far right is my other big, I want them to thrive there. So early restoration prior to me was Jim Thomas believed in just putting in trees. Now, when you do restoration, there's a number of theories. First of all, it's an art, not a science. Every soil is different, the microclimate is different, but he believed in putting in trees. I believe in putting in flowers in the ground cover, and then we'll put the trees in. The red trail that Jim Helmers is working on, doing the same thing I'm doing, is he's doing the trees and the wiregrass at the same time. So we'll both get to the same place. But those were the invasive exotics. The minute you take down, remove vegetation, the pioneer species move in, which is natal grass, guinea grass, and I forget what's the other one over there. It's equally bad. Kogon, oh, I'm still fighting it. So that's the same area after restoration. So you can see we now have Barbaria in there, gopher apple, scrub buckwheat, which is a endangered listed species. I'm trying to be and there's just some of the flowers okay. So just run through that, but that's just a few of them. And so starting other side of the restoration on the Orange Trail, that's what it looked like when we started after the removal of all the pine trees. And then by 2010, we're making a little bit of progress. And after 2 burns, that a lot of the white flowers of Palafoxia integrifolia, palafox and lovegrass, and all kinds of good stuff. So, okay, the blue trail. The blue trail started looking like that. That's all guinea grass. We used to lose small children in it. And that's prior to restoration. And let me tell you, and I think Peg can verify, it takes about $10,000 per acre to get it to this point. By the time you remove the trees, remove all of the invasives, herbicide for 1 or 2 years, buy the plants, buy the irrigation, you're spending a lot of money. When we work with grants, grants, donations, thank you, Tarfal. So, all right, I think we're going to get to the video that wouldn't play.
Which one is it?
First one, in amongst the trees.
So pretty.
Oh. Oh, the slideshow, okay. Am I back? I'm not back on.
No, testing.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, part of restoration is to do control burns. Our Florida flora involved with fire, and a lot of our flowers, trees, etc., especially wiregrass, will not bloom, set seed unless it is burned. Trust me, I have tried every other thing. I've cut it, I've dug it up and moved it. No, it has to burn. So we are about 2015. We found some money And we started some control burns. The management right now. I always when we ran a burn, it's scary. My boss, keeping it open, let the people walk through, especially now, as we've run 2 or 3 burns. Believe me, blink and you miss. And a lot of, we'll get to the next slide. But that's my job. I'm not certified. I don't have PPE and special equipment. So they send me out with a little flapper. In case the fire jumps the fire, right? Or gets close to something I don't want to have burned. So that's my job. And I'm always asking for volunteers. Our current burn boss is really, really good. If you want to take the drip torch and go set fire or something. He was out and she got to play with the drip torch and that on a number of them. So it's a great education. But with a burn, I think it's sort of like war or battle. There's hours of abject boredom punctuated by moments of abject terror. We stand around, wait for twins, wait for this, wait for that, stand around, and then you set it off. And then it just runs through the acreage really, really fast. The hard part, well, fires out after all the little burning places. Again, we've done 2-3 burns through the years, about every 3 years on different acres. And it goes, there's no mop up now. I don't allow the big trees to fall down and stay there like you would in the natural, 10,000 acre places. You police them up because in an urban area, and let me tell you, we are surrounded by the turnpike, State Route 50, and houses and an elementary school on 3 sides. So the fire has to be out. Sort of like UCF, when we had to talk by how they run their burns. They have more fuel out there. I really work my volunteers very hard to remove a lot of the fuel because we can't have it burn late or into. And let me tell you, after this, there are more and more people moving to Florida, and especially out there, Lake County, Western Orange County. And the first question we get after a burn, when are you going to see that photo? 4 days, grass is up. And there's an Alina, and can't see the bottom of it, but the next year it was in full bloom. Britain's beargrass. And Mandy, you're gonna have to come back here soon.
All the batteries are dead.
No, is anybody having difficulty hearing me? Hear me better.
Oh, okay.
No, wait.
Oh, sorry.
Slideshow. All right, I mentioned Jim Helmers takes care of the Red Trail. This is what he started with, about 2014. Came in later to do the Red Trail. It was a sand pine forest that we logged and got the money, which started, gave us enough money to start restoration. But then all the bad stuff. So this is what it looked like when he started. Okay. Now you need to run.
Which
And I have
one?
another video which we have to run off of.
Oakland or the prickly pear?
Second one. They have the majority of birds out there. Okay. Back to. Just enter. Oh, yeah, it's great fun. We will target the time frame, like 1 or 2 weeks. The burn box will call us the night before and say we're burning tomorrow. So getting volunteers out there is, or especially working. And it could be any day of the week. But that's the fun part. And it's me desperately, 9 o'clock at night. Hey, Tom. That was a very hot burn. This is a longleaf pine. And you can just see little pieces of green tops. That tree is perfectly alive. That was the day of the burn or 1 or 2 days after the burn. And that's what the tree looked like. Every single one. That is heavily forested out there with longleaf pine. You want to plant trees. The trees came up first, but you can see no trees or wildlife harmed in that fire. We have one burn. I think I lost a little snake. Didn't make it to the Gopher burrow in time. And a little tortoise, not a fox turtle, didn't make it. But everything goes into those Gopher tortoise burrows. Snakes, rabbits, everything. They're all friends. So they come out. But we
For.
okay. So. And okay, so it's not all work. We have some really cool projects. This is one of them. The winged yam, which is a cousin brother to the air potato. This one is edible. They had introduced the air potato beetle, and they were doing a great job in the first couple of years. And then I noticed we still had these big leaves and vines in a lot of places, and realized I had a different species of the Diaspora alapa, the winged yam. And they're not the big bulbs like on your potato. They're sort of oval shaped. The roots already growing out of the they had never been removed for as long as they had been there. So this group is the permaculture guy who believe in farming in a more natural. And we took out 300 pounds that one day. Each one of them was about this big. You can see the guy holding it. And they're all in the pots and stuff. And yeah, I'm getting there. So it's edible. So we brought a little camper and stove, and we cooked them up. Man, it took a long time cleaning them, etc. And even the one really big one came down to about that size in the end. But mashing them, and we put them in with some kale leaves and ketchup. It really didn't have much taste, but we fried them in a little olive oil. Oh boy, were they good. So you can't eat them. And I will say, after 3 to 4 years of them coming out, I no longer have that invasive non-native. There's a few there, and we'll get the occasional ones hanging off the vine occasionally. But the last time we went and dug, there were no really big ones, and it took. And they like to be out in the wetland area. You're digging in muck. We were just black. So that was great fun. But my other favorite thing to do is so fast plants come back after a burn. So way back when I started, the burn was April 2020. And by May, goldenrod was already up. The milkweed was already fully leafed out. That's the slate strata. Green eyes was up and blooming with less than a month. So no, we don't replant. And this was the current fire that we did in April. There's the beautyberry coming back in less than a month. The prickly pear is getting ready to bloom. It's totally burned and a new shoot. And there's the yucca we looked at the other day. It is now really about this high. So everything comes back. Now, with that said, if you buy a scrub plant like the Conradina default, Mary, scrub is not evolved like sandhill with fire or scrubby flatwoods. Those plants can only come back from seed. So I found that every year I run the burn, I got to go buy more Conradina, put it back in because it doesn't come back. Scrub only burns every 40 to 50 years and it totally decimates everything, and everything has to come back from seed. But the sand pine has rottenness cones. It takes fire to burst them open to get your new sand pines to come up. Okay. All right, I talked about working at Bill Frederick's. This was a number of years ago. We planted 900 rare scrub blue pines, not the sky blue. This is the pink one. Only a few survived, but this is one of my projects. That's me way down there. And if you go to Bill Frederick's today, you can go see the planting. I was just there this morning and we need rain. It's coming back from winter pretty good. So instead of raising stuff in nurseries and trying to plant them out, that was the big rescue we did at Farina Parkside. The last piece of scrub, Chuck, you're in there. And then we transplanted all of the rescues out there at Bill Frederick's. I will read this. It's nice art. The native plants found here have evolved and adapted. And this is on our rescue on the restored site at Bill Frederick. You can go read the sign. But basically, it describes why these plants are rare, and it's maintained by volunteers. I've lost a few of the other volunteers. But we had FNPS, Sierra Club, Orange County Audubon, and a number of other organizations. We had hundreds of people out there rescuing and then helping us plant. And I can't do it by myself anymore. It's pretty well established. It just means getting a few invasive non-natives out of there, like navel grass, cutting back the grapevines, etc. So anybody who wants to come help, let me know. I'd like to turn it over to you, so watch out.
What day are you?
Whatever. Turkey Lake off Hiawassee. That's not way south, before Universal.
It's in Orange County or?
Yeah, it's Orange County.
For which?
That's right. And that's the last piece of scrub. I think Pete's taken 1 or 2 field trips out there. There are pockets of really cool scrub, which you don't get to see unless you go down to Lake Wales, to Archibald or someplace. And that's the very rare pink scrub lupine that we were carefully monitoring out there. I was out there today and we're down to 3 plants. That plant is winking out. Every year that we went and monitored it, we had hundreds of little baby seedlings that come up. 4 or 5 would survive. Now it's a 2-year grow for 2 years, bloom and die. And those seeds are ejected, and we would find seedlings everywhere for years, hundreds of them. There were no seedlings this year. I have 3 plants that will bloom, will set seed next year. This is a really cool story at Bill Frederick. That first photo when we're planting them up, the staff mows the lawns and stuff out there. When it blooms, they came up to us and said, "Oh, we put that plant, it's growing over there." There are only 10 sites, less than 10 sites in Central Florida where this plant still exists. That's how rare it is. And here it was growing naturally out there, unbeknownst to anybody. And that's where we put all of the rescue of the ground existing in situ site of the scrub lupine. The sites where you can see the scrub lupine are secret, because they don't want anybody picking blossoms. In fact, I had one of the staff come up to me a couple of years ago and said, "I took some of the seeds from my yard. I'm willing to help." It has to have that scrub white sand. This is a gap specialist. It grows in gaps with higher trees and bushes around it. You just don't put it in the yard and expect it to live. If you're becoming rare and endangered, there's a reason. Not just loss of habitat, but specific habitat. All right, so I'm also out at the Orlando wetlands. He's taking you out there. We have the new boardwalk. There's a large group of us who volunteer out there on Wednesdays. And we maintain the gardens, and on the new boardwalk, planted more gardens, planted more flowering stuff to make it look pretty. But the big thing that the oh yeah, and that's one of the gardens. Note, there's a heron way in the back on the boardwalk. So this is some of the gardens. We weed, plant new stuff, cut back. But we also run the tram tours. Yeah, Sandy is not on the boardwalk with the car. But we just love the photo because that is the boardwalk way beyond it. So that's Fridays and Saturdays from 9 to 3. A bunch of us volunteers will be out there driving the trams, taking people around. Mainly birders or tourists who want to see. 1,700 last count. And that's just an estimate. So that's what I do on Wednesdays. And they had a native plant giveaway this year at the festival. So that's me back in there giving away plants here. And sometimes, all right, Mandy. One more. Sometimes, all right, we're done. Sometimes you just want to sit and